All right, Gina, I'll let you get back to court and pick up the conversation here with Joey and Dan. So it sounds like this guy's clearly on the move, right? Prosecutors, Joey, making a pretty good case for keeping him locked up. As a defense attorney, what's your argument?
Sure. Well, what the defense is going to attack, Randy, is the sufficiency of the arrest in the first instance. And they're going to argue something that Dan and I talk about a lot, and that is fruit of the poisonous tree. What does it mean? If the arrest is not predicated upon probable cause, that is, for example, you know that he's wanted and he will be extradited ultimately and eventually out of there to California. However, in the event that that arrest is not predicated upon reliable and proper information, there is no arrest. If there is no arrest, there's no basis to search. If there is no basis to search, anything that was found as a result of that search has to be thrown out, suppressed, and doesn't see the light of day. And so the defense is really banking upon that.
Right. It's very unlikely, though, because you have this warrant in California for murder. So that's the premise for the arrest. And then there's what's called a search incident to a lawful arrest, where you could then take possessions that someone has when you have a lawful arrest.
But really, what does it mean for the whole murder case in L.A., Dan? Because, I mean, this is certainly going to give prosecutors more time to prepare, right?
Yeah, it'll give them more time to prepare, but you can imagine they wouldn't bring a charge like this unless they had some evidence that they thought was powerful after all these years to finally bring charges. And these cases move very slowly anyway, so I don't think they're going to be really rushed.
But doesn't it seem a little bit to you like maybe they're just trying to put him in jail based on the weapons charges and all of that? I mean, as a felon?
It does, Randy, but there are two separate instances, of course. We know that in New Orleans, because of their findings, that as investigators, when they searched, right, you can't have a weapon. You certainly can't have it if you have a felony conviction, and you can't have the marijuana next to it because that elevates the charges.
So this would be enough, really,
so,
in a
yes,
sense.
certainly in New Orleans, but the issue about California, remember what his attorneys are attacking. They're saying, really? You're arresting me based on a documentary? Do you have something more than that confession? Or is it a confession? Or were they ramblings of a person who has potentially some mental infirmities? And then you want to talk about this letter and comparing a letter that was sent to a police department with a letter that was found, and an expert says they're alike. Really? That's the basis for what you're arresting me? They need to have, and there it is, Randy, but they need to have a lot more, the attorneys are arguing, than that.
But so does this indicate that maybe they don't have a lot more, Dan? Because why would they be going after these charges a lot more in the murder suspect, in the murder case?
Well, we don't know what California has. Obviously, the documentary showed some new evidence that no doubt they're using, but they're not going to show all their evidence right now. They're going to hold it until they proceed with their trial. So we'll find out in time. These weapons charges are separate, and the arresting officers had no idea they would find a weapon. So they were arresting him anyway, based on the warrant for the California murder. This arrest warrant, this arrest based on the weapon and the marijuana, that's just additional criminal charges that could subject him to more time, but that's completely separate from the California case.
The California arrest was not predicated upon probable cause, there's no basis to search, and therefore everything gets suppressed. It's a long shot, but in the event that that's true, you know what? Could make a big difference.
So if you were a betting man, does he stay in jail?
Well, I bet he stays in jail.
He'll definitely stay in jail because there is a warrant from California.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Randy.
Joey Jackson, Dan Schorr, and of course, Gene Casares there in New Orleans for us earlier.